Okay, let's try this. I just wanted to catch everybody up. Anybody who's kind of confused about why Minnesota, what's going on in Minnesota, let me catch y'all up a little bit. So, to start, we got to go back a few decades. In the 1990s, there was an influx of Somali immigrants that came as refugees to the United States due to some conflicts in Somalia. They were displaced from their country, and the United States took them in as refugees, and a lot of them were settled in Minneapolis due to the fact that Minneapolis had a low population density. It needed a bigger population for the economy. So they were settled in Minneapolis or Minnesota, and by all accounts, since then, Minnesota has loved their presence. The economy has done a lot better. Socially, most of the residents are happy with the Somali refugees, and the Somali refugees are happy contributing to society, having kids, sending them to school, and this is what produced Ilhan Omar. This is what produced other Somali people who are heavy contributors to society. So that's been going on, and no problems have arisen until about last year, a year ago, maybe a little bit longer. I'm not sure about the date, but there was a fraud case that was brought by the DOJ that showed that state funds and federal funds, government funds, were being misappropriated and embezzled, apparently. So that case charged 60, 90, something like that, a large number of defendants. Out of those defendants, a large majority of them were Somali, which is logically to be expected from any kind of conspiracy. A majority of the people involved are going to have a commonality. Whatever it is, they don't all just come together from all walks of, like, they have something in common that, and in this case, it happened to be that they're Somali, and that's a large majority of them. And some of the, but at the very top was a white lady that was orchestrating the whole thing. But that's irrelevant. Those Somali immigrants were charged. I'm not sure if they were convicted, but that case is real. Now, since that case, the Trump administration has been implying that Somali people are fraudsters as a whole, painting the whole population with a wide brush. About a few weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, my conception of time has been really like warped by the fact that all this is happening so quick, and we can't get a break. But very recently, there's been an influx of social media influencers popping up of a new genre. It's like vigilante bigotry. I don't know what to call it. It's like vigilante. They paint themselves as journalists and try to prove basically bigoted narratives that sustain the right wing. So in this case, it was the narrative that Somali immigrants are fraudsters. So this kid named Nick Shipley, I call him a kid because he's got the brain of a child. I'm trying not to be ableist when I say this, but you just listen to him. Go listen to him, and you'll see what I mean. But he goes and harasses a bunch of Somali-owned businesses, suggesting that they're a fraud, that they're part of the fraud. Now, mind you, the people who were involved in the fraud have been charged, have been prosecuted. He's going after random Somalis. He's just going to a random daycare and saying, at a time when they're not open, saying that they should have kids there and they're getting paid state money, so the kids should be there. So they obviously get freaked out a little bit and they don't talk to him. They get sketched out, right? So he takes that as evidence that they're doing something questionable and puts that online. Initially, it's a blip, but JD Vance retweets it. And other prominent Republicans retweet it. So it catches on like fire and all of a sudden has 250 million views. So Donnie, who's been looking at this, apparently had some ulterior motive for wanting to go to Minnesota, which is a very worrisome concept. Somebody pointed out this morning that they might be trying to shore up the northern border, which is a very uncomfortable idea, obviously. But so Trump, the administration sees this as a opportunity to go into Minnesota, which they wanted to do apparently. So they send, that's why he sends ICE. That's why he's threatening to send troops. Before that, if you remember, the target were more blue cities, not so much Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota is not really like a blue stronghold, right? Even Minneapolis is not considered a blue stronghold. Sure, it's more progressive than other cities, but it's not considered Trump was threatening to send ICE or troop or National Guard and stuff to Seattle, to Portland, but they settled on Minneapolis because of this narrative. And with this narrative, they're able to convince their base that Minneapolis is a good place to send troops and send because of the Somalis. So they think the meta on the right, with their discussion on the right, is that they send the ICE is there to find and deport Somalis, even though over 90% of them are U.S. citizens. A large portion of them are U.S. born citizens because those refugees had kids, and those kids are a large portion of the Somali population in Minneapolis or in Minnesota. So now the intent is kind of muddied. They're going after Latino people because they realized it's not really working out trying to find Somalis when over 90% of them are citizens. So they're going after Latinos, and they're also killing white people, which is the part that's jarring a lot of the country, right? They killed Renee Good, a 30-something-year-old white woman, mother, by all accounts, just a neighbor. Not really. They try to paint her as radical. They try to paint her as everything they could, but. And now, yesterday, they killed another man, ICU nurse. Again, they're gonna try to paint him as a radical, but just an ICU nurse trying to protect his neighbors. That's what's going on. You're kind of caught up. There's more details.